I'm a huge Sonic fan, and there are things that I'd love to see. Like, I'd love to see being able to play the other characters. I think that was a cool thing. I wanted to explore more of this Sonic's world, right? I love the speed stuff, but everyone, these designers and these level designers spend so much time building so much content, and you're going by it so fast, and I want fans to really be able to slow down for a little bit, look at this world, look at the history of this world, and all the things that sort of formed it, and why is this here, why is this here, and really sort of like build up this story and this world in that regard. So, what do I think other people are going to enjoy? What do fans, I think, fans are always tough to sort of predict and what they like and whatnot, but why is this world here? How does this world function? Who are the residents of this world? What is sort of the history of this world? And kind of building from there. And so, you see this concept art around this room that we spent a lot of time, just like before we even started working on the game animation, a lot of time just spent drawing and doing sketches and things about those. How does it all connect together? And the big thing that I think to get across is that, again, in sort of traditional Sonic games, you kind of go from level to level to level, and there's not necessarily a connection between them. Part of the key components of sort of building this world is making sure that everything fits in its proper place, right? So there's hubs, there's things connected to it. When you're heading in a direction, where that's going, and where you've been.
How do you think fans will react to the new character designs?
Again, that's a hard one to predict. I hope they fall in love with them like I do. The main thing I want to get across, which is really important to me and to my heart, is that no change, no single, adjustment in these characters was done without a lot of thought. Like, every single component we spent long period of time on. And it may be something that's simple. You might think, oh, that's simple, or that's not major. Everything was major to us. And so, I think if I had to message something to the fans and ones who are unsure, or they're used to the classic design of the characters, really look at why we redid these characters. There's a reason for everything, and we felt that, in this time it was important to have this sort of branch. And since it's a different type of gameplay and a different kind of experience, it also made sense to have a new set of designs of characters that sort of fit in that world versus traditional sort of modern Sonic and what he does so well.
How has Sonic remained relevant all these years?
I give up. Things I like about Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. I like the controls. I like the focus on cartoon animal people. I like that you can't just look at this world and say for sure that it's our modern day Earth. I like some of the characters. I like how consistently Sonic and his friends play from one to the next, that they all share the same playstyle with some tricks that make them shine and don't make them less fun than Sonic. I like lots of little things in this game, but there are a lot of big things that I could do without. A lot of decisions that were clearly made to keep the player going at a snail's pace most of the time, in a desperate effort to extend the game artificially, as if that's supposed to make what we get better somehow. I can appreciate taking a moment to soak in the scenery and all that, but the world they've dropped us into really isn't anything special. It could have been, maybe, but it's not. The combat is bland and happens pretty much all the time. The environments are so-so. The platforming is really basic and doesn't have that Sonic edge to it. The people in the world just really aren't all that interesting. The characters never shut up. Some of them have loads of wasted potential, and some of them are just horrendously bastardized. These guys act like they understand these characters so well, even better than we do. But they make Shadow hate friendship even though at his core his character is all about friendship. So what does that tell you? I wouldn't even have a problem with this Shadow being different, except he isn't, really. This world appears so different than anything we're used to, but they dedicate none of the time you'll spend in it setting anything up. I wouldn't even mind if they just left little bits of the story laying around for you to discover and learn for yourself, like in Metroid Prime, but seeing how nearly every other aspect of this game has turned out, that probably wouldn't be too exciting either. We don't know anything about this world or the people in it that can substantially set it apart from the Sega Sonic universe. It's just a new coat of paint with no real meat to it. As superficially different as it is, it doesn't do enough to have its own identity, so all it can hope to do is somehow complement or supplement the main series. And that's where everything wrong with it becomes apparent. We can't help looking at all the things it tries and fails to do differently as points to use against it. And that makes me sad. I was excited for this game when the first trailer was released. I was looking forward to this. I thought it would make Sonic history as a return to form, yet still something bold and new. Like I've said, it has a lot of things that I'd like to see more of in Sonic games. Other playable characters who can keep up with Sonic, and throw NPCs, a world that feels different from our own, more open levels filled with things to interact with. I've defended this from naysayers from day one, because I seriously thought this was going to be great. Or maybe I just really wanted it to be because of the things I saw and was blind to its shortcomings that should have been apparent to me right from the beginning. But as more trailers were released and I saw how it was really shaping up to be, I grew less and less excited for the game, and by the time it was released, I was so unenthused that I almost didn't bother with the game at all. In the end, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric has left me jaded and disappointed and confused, and I am done defending this game. I'm not going easy on it anymore. For all its fleeting, half-hearted highs and many lows, Sonic Boom misses the mark on the most important thing, the core gameplay. It's always too slow, or too whatever you call this. Johnny put it better than I would have. There's speed, and there's platforming, but the two never correlate. It's two games stitched together, each with very different goals and sensibilities in mind. It's always one way or the other, speed or control, never both. Why the heck not? What good reason is there? Why can't they just make one consistently fast-paced gameplay style that fits Sonic with a reasonably fast running speed, platforming that isn't cumbersome, enemies that don't tie you down, and levels built around that? What, would it be over too quickly? Or is it just the developers are still afraid of going for the whole adventure-style controls and physics and level design that were sullied by games like Sonic 06? Look, I'm not talking about fishing with Big the Cat or whatever else you people don't like about those kinds of games and they come to mind when someone so much as mentions Sonic Adventure. I'm talking about how Sonic played, which was amazing. Since then, I've never felt like I had so much control over the character and so much freedom to do whatever the hell I wanted to do with him. Last World for the 3DS came close, and while the level design is pretty awful most of the time, I would like to see Sonic move like this in a console game. Anyway, as for the pacing and action of adventure-style gameplay, I guess it's such an impossibly tough nail to hit on the head that everyone's completely given up on trying to recapture that. Either that, or they just didn't want the stigma against that kind of gameplay to have a negative effect on Sonic Boom's reputation. Well, it's a little late for that. Look, I don't need a Sonic Adventure 3. I don't need a game that plays exactly like that. And I'm not asking these developers to recreate that sort of game themselves. I just find it perplexing that Sonic is either kinda slow or kinda fast. They can never completely make up their mind. There's no middle ground. There's no gradient. The key phrase here is speed versus control. It's like these guys are worried that if they make Sonic too fast, any game they can make would be an unplayable mess, or even that it would be playable, but there'd still be a lot of people who couldn't wrap their minds around such a playstyle and would call the controls worse than they actually are, and they'd call them slippery or finicky or something like that. So they water Sonic down, making him so slow most of the time that you can't possibly mess up and come complaining to them later because you suck. But then they had to compensate for this snail's pace by throwing in these auto-running sections that are all flash, no substance. They were created to be shown off in the trailers and to keep the player not so deprived of that Sonic speed that they'd want to return the game. I don't think it worked. In these sections, you have so little control over what's going on. You just watch Sonic go and occasionally jump or move to the side. Like, again, if they give the player too much control with this kind of speed, they might mess up in some crazy way. And then these areas might be compared to the max speed sections of Sonic 06. Oh no, that could affect sales. I guess the developers were so afraid that trying to make a faster 3D Sonic game would inevitably turn out badly, that it just cannot work. It's too risky, so they shouldn't even try. Just let us go fast. Stop holding us back so we don't fuck up. Don't even give me crap about Sonic being faster than everyone else, so they have to slow him down to the other's pace, since this is about all of them. Everyone was fast in the classic games. Like, what is this game trying to be? People keep saying, oh, but it's not a Sonic game like you think it is. It's just a platformer beat-em-up game that features Sonic characters. Well, yeah, that's the problem. This game feels like it wasn't even really made with Sonic in mind. Like, maybe it was originally going to be a new franchise that starred characters we've never seen before, with more emphasis on the Ender Beam and whatnot. Maybe Sega asked them, hey, can we put our characters in your game? I'm sure it'll turn out just fine. And then the core gameplay ended up being so boring and so unfitting for Sonic that they threw in these autorun sections later in development because, newsflash, Sonic is about going fast, and no matter how much they try, they can't deny or change that. I know that's going to come as a shock to some people, hearing that from me, the guy who doesn't like the daytime stages so he obviously wants Sonic to be slow. But what I really want is balance. Like, it just bugs me that despite trying to give everything else in this game so much flavor, they'd play it so safe by giving players no room for error. It's like you could put this game at the very end of a spectrum. On the other end, you've got Sonic Unleashed. Both games have serious problems, mostly unique to each one, but even then you can find a few similarities that seem symptomatic of a much bigger problem that seems to affect every recent Sonic game on some level, even if they get everything else right. Generations is a good example of this. Modern Sonic's controls are better than in Sonic Unleashed, but not by much. So a lot of the 3D areas are made to slow you down a bit, discouraging you from just mindlessly boosting into everything. Unlike in this game though, they did it right because stuff is still constantly happening. You're always making progress, you're always doing something exciting. Nonetheless, this was a way to work around the control issues. Lost World, a very different game, is also a good example of this, with its multiple running speeds. Even then, I could kinda get behind that kind of compromise because at least you're still at a decent top speed. But there's still that issue of speed versus control, freedom versus automation, this trade-off. To me, Sonic Adventure is that middle ground. Not too fast and not too slow. Good controls, good acceleration, potential for amazing level design, sprawling worlds that would be so fun to climb and hop and run around in. Again, Big Red Button is just desperately shying away from anything risky that people could use to say this game has sloppy controls or whatever, but in doing so they shied away from anything that makes a Sonic game a Sonic game. It doesn't matter how many times the characters insist on reminding me that there are rings and bounce pads in this game and how amazing that is. If these guys ever try making a Sonic game again, I hope they'll feel a little more comfortable with the character and amp things up a bit. Give the characters more personality, make the levels more vast and lively, make the characters faster, give it more of that Sonic speed, that edge. As it is, Sonic Boom is a pretty basic platformer and little else. It's certainly no Jak and Daxter. It doesn't feel like a Sonic game, it just feels like 100 run-of-the-mill mascot platformers that rightfully get overlooked in favor of Mario, Rayman, and, well, for a time, Sonic. If it didn't have Sonic characters or rings in it, it would just blend into the sea of these other games and be lost in obscurity, and it very well still might yet. The most damning thing about Rise of Lyric is how underwhelming it is. It doesn't set the bar anywhere. There really is nothing aside from the novelty of Sonic and his friends being in it to separate it from all the other generic platformers out there that nobody cares about. I thought Sonic was about being something more than that. Say all you want that it's a TV tie-in or that it's a kid's game, so it's okay for it to be like that. Get that shit out of here. There's nothing special about this game. There's nothing remarkable, nothing noteworthy, nothing timeless or unforgettable, nothing that'll make your kids look back on it with fond memories as a highlight of their childhood, even into their adulthood. And that's no good. Big Red Button should be ashamed of themselves. It's clear that a lot of content was cut from the game. Playable characters, story, things that could have made it kinda cool, maybe. And when they haven't basically been hiding it from anyone discerning enough to see it for what it is right off the bat, they're still trying to pass it off for what it could have been. This is essentially false advertising. They're selling you a completely different game. I would have thrown shamelessly somewhere in that last sentence, but I think they made it fairly clear that they are very, understandably, ashamed that they made this game. I don't care if it's been in development hell for like 7 years. I don't care if some asshat thought it was a good idea to have like 14 people working on it for a time. And as for the graphics being downgraded, I guess I could kinda give them mercy points for not being able to make CryEngine 3 work on the Wii U, because even if it's not so much a matter of the raw power of the console not being enough, and that it's really more of a matter of the Wii U's architecture being so different, so weird and alien to them, that they really shouldn't be expected to completely relearn everything they know about programming a game, I won't give them those mercy points because it doesn't even look like they tried. This game, quite simply, is incompetently programmed. You can get through it without much trouble, but it's just not made with any tact or finesse. You can use Knuckles' jump to reach Tesla levels that are left in the game. Like, seriously, they're just looming over you, way up in the sky. This is the final product! How is this acceptable? What is this, Hedgehog Simulator? Yeah, you know what, that's what this game feels like a little bit. A joke game. Is that all this game is? Just one massive joke on Sonic fans that goes on for way too long? Heck, this was supposed to be the shortest video in this little series. Just a few final thoughts I jotted down. But the more I talk about this game, the more I look back on it, the more confused and angry I get. There was a point when I liked it, because I thought it represented the things I like about Sonic, but it represents so many things I never knew I hated, but I do! Any positives are hopelessly overshadowed by all this crap, but I just... Try to understand where I'm coming from, guys. I don't think we're about to enter a new dark age of Sonic. This is just one stupid game. And it's not even a main series game, just a potentially very short-lived spin-off series which will live on in some form in the cartoon that most people seem to think is, at the very least, okay. But if we're lucky, we'll never see a game like this again. Based on the recent track record, whatever game Sonic Team releases next year for the main series should be good, like the last few main series games have been. But for now, being a Sonic fan sucks. Your average show isn't going to pay any mind to whatever caveat you give them that it's a spin-off game or a kids game or whatever. They don't care who made what game. This game is a part of a huge marketing explosion of new Sonic stuff for us Western folks. And like it or not, this is what we get. This is what's in the limelight. This is the Sonic that the world of gaming sees now. All of the progress we've made over these last few years with Colors, Generations, and Lost World, all undeniably functional, playable, competently put together games, doesn't matter now. This steady, easy recovery we've made, they won't see it.
This is definitely a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull type of situation we have going here.
It's not a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull situation, because if it were, then that's implying that the 3 games before this were great.
Oh shit.
And they weren't.
Until Sonic Team releases something great, we're back to square one. We're back to where we were in 2006. Sonic stinks again. His games suck now. All of them, especially the 3D ones, because of Sonic Boom. Because this is all people are going to think about from now on when you bring up Sonic. Now we're going to start hearing things like, "The blue blur sure has fallen from grace, hasn't he? It seems he just can't catch a break in this day and age again," or "Like many a time before, Sonic's latest outing is bogged down by his dumb friends," or "It's a wonder Sonic fans keep coming back for more of this. Just let Sonic die, please. He hasn't had a good game since the 90s, and judging from Sega's track record, it doesn't look like he's going to anytime soon." Fuck you, Sonic Boom. Rise of Lyric let us down. Please let the next game be good. Everything I said in my Lost Road review applies to this game tenfold. But when I say I can't recommend this game, I really mean I cannot recommend this game to anyone. This is the most perplexing Sonic game I've ever seen, and the more I look back on it, the more disillusioned I feel. I kinda liked it at first, but throughout the process of making these videos, I found myself starting to despise it for being so mediocre and unfocused. Rise of Lyric isn't just a bad game. It's an utterly joyless, soulless, tepid sort of game. And I need you to understand where I'm coming from. I felt inclined to defend this game because there are things about it that I've been asking for more for years, ever since I started making Sonic reviews back in, 2009? And I don't want to see these things go away and never be attempted again because of this game's reception. But I guess I kinda have to now, so that whatever game comes next doesn't remind anybody of this game. The future of Sonic is uncertain. I won't say it's bleak. Like I've said, I'm pretty hopeful that whatever comes next will be good, and it's not like Sonic hasn't recovered from worse. But there's only so much crap I can take as a Sonic fan. The lackluster story, the schizophrenic gameplay, the glued together world. Sonic Boom is like reaching into a Christmas stocking and finding nothing but Slim Jims. The first couple are okay, but you get sick of them pretty quick. If I'll be completely honest, if it's alright with you guys, I'm feeling kinda Sonic'd out right now. And I don't want to talk about Sonic again for a long time. Man, this is just depressing. There's gotta be something I can safely say I like about this game that I just haven't looked at yet. Something that might redeem it for me somehow. I can't have gone through all this without getting something more out of it. I like that the Eggmobile has an anti-Sonic button. There. Toodles! Oh, and by the way, Sonic Exodus isn't dead, guys. You'll see more of it sometime. Toodles.